5, 4, 3, 2.
Hi, I'm Zach Hicks, and I don't know how to make a vlog. So you might be wondering why I named the channel In the Field Productions. If that's the case, then I wanted to make this video to talk directly to you and kind of tell you a little bit of the inspiration behind the name of the channel. The inspiration actually came from my favorite book, The Legend of Bagger Vance by Steven Pressfield. If you haven't read this book, I would highly recommend it. It's a very deep and emotional dive into the meaning of life. I'm going to give you a brief rundown of the story here just to get my point across. Nothing crazy in depth, just going to hit the high points. So there's this guy named Ranulph Juno. He's a professional golfer who has been through a lot. He fought in World War II. His wife died due to illness. And because of his anxiety and depression, he felt like he was an unfit father, so he gave his daughter over to live with extended family because he wanted her to have a better life than he could provide. Now, after all of that takes place, he washes back up in his hometown in Georgia. And a few years later, there's a huge tournament at a local golf resort in his hometown. People from all around Georgia are going to compete in this competition, but the people in the hometown don't want some outsider winning. So they have a committee meeting and they say, well, who's a local hero? Who could win this tournament and keep it here for us? And they throw a couple names around, but only one really sticks. Ranulph Juno. A lot of the people in the committee are like, who? Ranulph Juno? That guy? That old washed up has-been? There's no way. And then other people are saying, no, totally, he can do it. He whatever. They eventually come to a group consensus that they're going to invite him to compete for them. So they send a little kid to go knock on his door and give him the old invite. No matter what this kid tries, he's just not going to do it until Bagger Vance comes out. Bagger Vance is his best friend. He's been with him through the war. They go way back. But Bagger is a little more than what meets the eye. But we'll get to that later. Trust me. There are 3 golfers in total, and Juno is definitely the underdog. Going into the actual competition, he is hot garbage for about the first half of it. And all along the way, as he's doing terribly, his caddy is just cracking jokes with him, and he's keeping it loosey-goosey. He's not making it a big deal. Meanwhile, Juno is losing his mind, and he's completely embarrassed, and he's just frustrated with the whole situation. It comes down to the wire where if he messes up this hole, he's done. Like, there's no chance he's gonna win. And he feels like he could quit. And Bagger Vance tells him, okay, if that's what you want to do, we'll pack up right now and we'll go home. He decides to keep playing, and he hits it, and it's actually not that bad. And he looks at Bagger and says, you know that I can't quit. And Bagger looks at him and says, yeah, I know. I just wanted to make sure you knew. Around the midpoint of Act 2, Juno is at his lowest point. He's losing terribly, and he just sees no end in sight. And Bagger shows him that he has to let go of everything that happened to him in his life. Everything wrong that happened to him, he's got to lay down his burden and move forward. And this is the part where I kind of mentioned earlier about Bagger Vance being more than he seems. Bagger Vance is supposed to be symbolic of God. He's all-knowing, he's omniscient, he is always at the right place at the right time. And he has this special ability that he helps Juno with. At one point in the story, he touches Juno on the shoulder and lets him see the world as he sees it. And he calls it seeing the field. When he gives him this sight, he's able to see everything. He sees the gravitational pull of the earth. He sees how that geese have a specific pattern that they're supposed to fly in the air. He sees the aura around people. He sees life for what it is. And the theme stated in the book is about Juno finding his authentic swing, as Bagger Vance calls it. And now the perfect swing is symbolic of your calling in life. At one point he says, inside each and every one of us is one true authentic swing, something we was born with, something that's ours and ours alone, something that can't be taught to you or learned, something that got to be remembered. Over time, the world can rob us of that swing. It get buried inside us, under all our wouldas and couldas and shouldas. Some folk even forget what their swing was like. In this story, Bagger Vance states that everyone is born with their authentic swing, and you know it as a child, but as you get older, you sometimes forget it, and you have to find your way back to that authentic swing, meaning that through the muck and the mud of life, sometimes we can lose our way. And in the end, Juna is faced with a dilemma. Do I keep holding on to my past and let it cripple me? Or do I move on and let myself grow and prosper and find my authentic swing? I think you know how the story ends. Now, the reason that this book is so important in my life, so much so that I named my YouTube channel after it, is because it's very relatable to my life. Now, I'm not one to usually open up and talk a lot about my life and my past and things like that, but you know, I kind of want this channel to be an open forum for people to talk about their past experiences and what they're struggling with to get through to their dreams. So, I mean, maybe I should be a little open with you guys. So, ever since I was a little kid, I have been obsessed with movies. It started out, I was in diapers. I've always loved movies. When I was old enough to walk, I wanted to be an actor. My hero was Jim Carrey. He was just the wild, crazy guy off The Mask, for all I knew. I didn't know anything behind the camera. And then once that I found out, wait, you can write one of those things? I took off running. I loved movies. And I started out in, middle school and high school making little videos and things. And slowly over time, I've progressed to now. But there was a murky area in between. When I was in high school, I was working on my first feature film script called Brother Solemn, and it never got made. It was too big for the time. We didn't have enough people, enough time, anything. The life of a high schooler. At some point after high school, I stopped making short films. I stopped writing. I lost all purpose in it. I felt lost. I was working a 9-to-5 job that I hated. I gave up on my dream. Somewhere in the muck and mud that was life, I let my anxiety get to me. Somewhere in the mix, I lost my way. Somewhere in that mud, I lost my authentic swing. We all have this little voice in the back of our head that tells us we can't do something. And it's up to us whether we listen to it and accept it, or if we deny it and choose our own path. And for the longest time in my life, I listened to that voice. I thought I wasn't creative enough. I thought that I wasn't good enough. I thought, of all the people in the world that want this, why you? But then I woke up one day and I realized, who cares? Who cares what other people think? Who cares? Who cares what that little voice in my head says? I love it, so I need to do it. I fully believe that everyone was put on this earth for a reason. I believe that we all have something that we can bring to the world, and I believe that we were born with that talent. And I believe that that's the whole purpose in life, is finding that thing that you were brought here to do, and to do it. Despite what anybody else says. Don't care what people think. Don't care about money. If it's something that you're passionate about, don't let anybody stop you. Especially not that little voice in your head. I promise you it's lying to you. If you practice and you put in the work and you try, genuinely try, you'll get better every time. You're not going to be a professional. I promise you, I'm not. You were put on this earth for a purpose. You have purpose for being here. Please don't stop until you find that thing. And you know what it is too. It's deep inside your heart. Maybe society made you stop thinking about it, stop talking about it, shove it way down. Maybe your family kept you from pursuing it. Maybe your friends. Maybe yourself. Maybe that little voice in the back of your head. Whatever the reason is that you're not doing what you're supposed to do, forget it. Because I promise you, I'm talking from personal experience, you will be so much happier the moment that you lay down that burden, like Juna did in the book. Lay down that burden, lay down what you've been through. Forget that. It's in the past. Look toward the future and march toward that bad boy as fast as you can. And every little bit of muck and mud that you walk through, shake that off your boots. Forget about it. Leave it behind you. Keep going until you reach that finish line, because I promise you can. I'm not at the finish line, but you know what? I'm trying. And that's all I ask of you. Just try. Find your authentic swing and find your place in the field. Anyway, guys, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully I sparked a little bit of fire up under you and gave you a little bit of inspiration. If you liked it, please like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. I'd really appreciate that. It would mean a lot. I'd like to open up an open discussion in the comments. If you're going through anything, or if you have a dream, it could be something as small as, I want to lose 20 pounds in the next few months, or it could be something as big as, I want to publish a book. Let's talk about it. Talk about it in the comment section about what kind of things you're going through, what kind of resistance you're coming up against. If somebody's telling you can't do it, or if you got that little voice in the back of your head, let's talk about it. That's what this channel is all about, finding our place in the field. So anyway, guys, I really appreciate your time and have a great week. Bye-bye.
There's a truck outside. There's always something going on. It's a happening place. They say, hey, Zach lives here. I'm gonna come on by. Say, hey, can I get an autograph? Tell him no. Gotta beat him off with a stick.
I'm not proud of that.